advice can you give on setting up a practice space? So I'll pass this one back to Didi and Armand. So, in a sense, we've got some teachers have said that, the same place, the same time sets up a almost like an astral pattern of sorts, or a pocket that you occupy, that you're conditioning to be conducive to highest outcomes. And then, of course, you can just go wander out into the forest as well. And so, you have these different approaches, and I'm sure, and obviously there's going to be many more too. But I'd love to hear, when it comes to setting up a space, and maybe this isn't something that everyone can do because of their sort of household constraints, if you will. If you have children, I'm sure that this is something that's would be a challenge. But Didi and Armand, please, if I could get your thoughts and any advice you could give on setting up a practice space, whether it's for a beginner or even reviewing.
Yeah, I think for most important is it's somewhere you feel safe, where you can, you know, be yourself, and where it feels where the energy is okay for you to start your practice. Um, and well, for me, it would be also somewhere where it's a little bit quiet, so you can be with yourself, not with people running around you. So, is there somewhere in the house that you can set up a space that's dedicated to you? Um, yeah, and can you charge? You said something about other people saying uh, that this, if you practice there every day, there's something of the astral energy there that that helps you um, come back to that place continue your journey. Um, so you can put some stuff there as well that can help you. I did a lot of the inner child training, so I have some pictures of myself as a child, and every morning when I walk in, I write my journal. I sit there and I check in with my inner child. But by looking at the picture, I'm kind of having that connection much quicker. So I have one of me being like 5 years old, and I have one of me being a teenager. Because a lot of people, when they do inner child work, it's about their inner child being a young child. But especially when I started working with that teenager, I was like, wow, there's a lot going on there. There's so many changes there. So I have these two pictures and I check in with them every day. And that sets me, it really goes into feeling where I am. Uh, am I okay to go into the world, or is there something I have to do still before I can go and continue my day? So that's some advice.
Yeah.
And we actually thought about more things, but
Yeah, so but I think it develops over time as well,
Yeah.
So I started with just, okay, so where should I put my cushion when I start meditating? When I started out slow, you just walk through the house and it's like, and you feel it, you start sitting there, and maybe that can develop in some way. And at a certain point, you might notice, oh, my back's a little bit too much to that window, or you change that around a little bit. So it's more like it's almost out of that starts a sort of a Feng Shui journey of
Mm.
you know of seeing, okay, where am I sitting? But is there also a little? Is there clutter? Is there stuff that is distracting me? Some stuff is obvious, like screens and stuff. So where I train, we don't have a TV, by the way, or anything. I mean, you're looking at our living room, but some people say, "Where's your stuff?" And we're like, we don't have stuff because it kept growing, right? So yeah, you can take a look around a little bit, right? So there's a training mat, so there's the trampoline. Well, there's the dog on the couch. We do have a couch for relaxing, by the way.
Hello.
So the dog there, yeah, he's lying down. He's a big greyhound, but this is our house. So it turned into that over time. So we started to declutter and bringing objects like the Neijing 2 over there, right? The scroll, we brought that from China, and that one comes from Thailand. So, and we get from our journeys, we got a Guanyin there from Thailand, and we got a Buddha I got from my mom. So you keep, so you're tweaking and tweaking over the time until it becomes more and more of a concentrated space,
Hmm.
still place. So yeah, obviously your energy is going into that room. So let's say upstairs, I have my own room too, where I do things, but I have got a stereo over there. It's like I have a hi-fi. I don't own a lot of things, but I do have a great hi-fi because I love music and I love listening to music. But not only the music, I love to listen to the silence as well. So it's like this. So every time I come into that room, I feel the stillness there. There's just stillness, because I cultivated that over time and it got rid of stuff there. So yeah, it's a continuous process, but I always need to feel good. I need the bottom line is I need to be able to concentrate there because the training is about concentrating, right? So yeah, so and some hygiene I think is very important. We try to keep the house very clean. I mean, we teach in this room as well, so we use white sage for cleansing. We just do that. We do that every other day, I guess. We do some of that
Sometimes multiple times a day.
multiple times a
Depends
day.
who came
Depends
in.
on the release, but also
Yeah.
your own thing, right? It could be that you're working on something with yourself that's deeper releases and emotions might come up, or so it's good to clean the house. It's good to keep the air moving. So yeah, those are a couple of things, I guess. At a higher level, you could charge the room very deliberately, right? Like as you become more sensitive to the elements, for instance, and I mean, air element is good for learning, right? So you could do some air element breathing in your room, and so try to charge that more and more. We do that with people coming over also. We sit in the room and we sit with a bunch of people and we start charging the room with a certain frequency, right? So we do that for maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes. We go outside after that and we just wait, and then we come back into the room and it's still there, right? So you feel that you change the atmosphere of the room because you already influence the room, right? You do that everywhere you go. You cannot really hide that because your energy, you go into that. So there's feelings there and things like that you also bring into the space. So you can make use of that also when you find like, oh, okay, this room needs to be about concentrating. So how can you bring air element in there, but a little bit of fire element also for a little bit more willpower. So as you move along through the practice, it will change over time also. And yeah, until it's just you don't have anything anymore. Right? it's gone. Only the essence, it's like the essentials, I guess. A sword, yeah, burglars,
Wonderful. Yeah, I've got to say, one thing that has struck me and a lot of the people who know me over the sort of 10 years of, discovering meditation is that all of my personal possessions have shrunk down to just the absolute necessities.
Yes.
It's just so much more freeing for myself. It's nice and quiet, which is funny because I come from a background of being a musician, being like a rock and pop musician, and I had lots of things. I had a full studio for teaching and for playing and all this stuff. So yeah, it's been, like I said, very freeing. Now, Mr. David Paul Coleman, what advice can you give on setting up a practice space for people just starting out, or maybe those who are already on the path?
David or Dave is fine, by the way, for us. Okay.
No, that's
I don't have too much to add to what was just brilliantly said. All of that. You have your physical space, your astral space, and your mental space, right? These are the three spaces that you need to care about. All right. Your physical space should, for me, it's always, I'm trying to think of all of the, like, I'm 53, so I'm trying to think of all of the different ways in which I've had space to do this work in, right? But for me, there's always been an object a thing that is the center of that space. Quite right now, it's the little statue on my altar, which sits just to my left over here, right? But there's always been a thing, an object that is the heart or the center or the focal point of the space, and just making eye contact and then interacting with that object transmutes the space into the space. Right. Right. So there's always like an anchor point that allows me to do that, right? And but the physical space, like, I'm just like everyone else, I'm messy and chaotic, right? And I've got to tidy it all the time to clear it up. If there are things in your physical space as a beginner, right, as a like starting out on the path, that are distracting you, as has already been said, you should clear them out, right? Get that clutter out of your sight so that it's not distracting you. But if you are more experienced and you don't have that problem, the clutter can be something that you actually interact with and becomes part of the like, you can go into like a really busy forest and find peace there, right? Right.
Yeah.
There's a certain quality that you need to access to find it, but with all the noise going on in a jungle, you'd think that it's pretty difficult to feel at peace there. But no, you can get that, right? It's because nature is not the same as humans. We create all kinds of different atmospheres that are very difficult for us to find peace in, right? Which leads me to the astral, right? So physically, if you're at the beginning of your path, it's very, very important. It's super important to clean up your stuff so that you're not distracted by it, and that you've got a focal point that puts you in the space, as I've just described, puts you in the mood. Let's call it like, right, in the vibe of doing it. And that can be whatever you want. When you're further advanced, right, you see your space, you perceive your space, which is what's been talked about now already, differently, right? It's not just your physical space anymore. Now you see your astral space and your mental space, and everything in that space must be a reflection of your spiritual journey, of your spiritual path. If it's not, then it's a distraction from that. And you become, as you get further and further into the path, you fall more and more deeply in love with the journey, with the spiritual path, with the enlightenment itself. That becomes your priority. That's one of the major transformations that happens. And so you do want to clear your space out of all this garbage, right? Because it's not an expression of your own essential meaning. And that's the whole path. Expressing yourself, being yourself. And it's not an expression of you, then it needs to go. And that includes all your old books and all your old stuff that you're attached to and all the things that you love, right? But then there's your astral space as well. And I'd say for a beginner, that's really the important space as well to think about, right? Your astral space is your attitude of fundamentally to the work, to the progress that you're making, to the exercises that you're doing, whatever it is that you're trying to do. And your attitude to life, right? Your attitude to being who you are, how comfortable you are with who you are and what you've been doing with your life so far. That is often a mess in the beginning, right? You're going into step 1, step 2, step 3, or its equivalent, and you don't have a firm grasp of yourself. And you also don't have clearly developed psychic senses as a result of not having a firm grasp of yourself. Then you are in a bit of a dangerous situation in terms of your awareness of your astral environment. What could be in your astral environment that is affecting you, that is affecting your progress? And there could be a ton of things going on in your astral environment, from what's happening in your neighbor's house to what's happening in your workforce that you're taking home with you invisibly. Because you're not perceiving it in the beginning, this can be a problem, right? You can find yourself dealing with all kinds of stuff in your meditation. Things are coming up for you, having to do with all stuff. It's all part of your journey, by the way. But you can make it a lot easier, and this is what I'd advise everyone to do, even if they're not like pursuing a spiritual path, right? You can make it a lot easier by putting a symbol up somewhere in your home, somewhere in your space, that identifies this space as your space. Humans live here, right? Now, years gone by, they put all kinds of things up, from like horseshoes and like rabbit's feet and whatever, like Christian crosses over doorways, right? It doesn't matter. There's always a thing, though, that gets placed in your home, like a hearth symbol, a magical symbol of some kind that gets put in your space that identifies it as a human abode. And this identifies it as a human abode in the astral, symbolically. And so there are beings in the astral around you, invisible beings that you're not aware of, who will sometimes they will see your home and they're like, well, no humans live there. We're just going to go all, it's like a highway. Your home is like a highway for these astral beings moving through it all the time. And that can really be something that you have to deal with in your space if you're trying to calm your mind, get into a quiet space, right? But if you put a protective warding of some kind around your space that symbolizes that for you and that makes you feel that it is protected, then those beings are going to see that's a human abode. A human lives there, and they're probably going to avoid it, right? The only ones that aren't going to avoid it are the ones that are coming to make trouble for you. And if they come to make trouble for you, there's a reason why you need to deal with them, and there's a lesson for you to learn, and that will be okay. You'll deal with it.
Oh wow, what a wonderful response! Thank you, David. Yeah, this is it. You know, as I've stripped my walls bare, I've been very, for some reason, thoughtful about what I choose to adorn my personal space with. I live in a shared space, and there's people, and so claiming that space. Because that's wonderful. I haven't actually thought about it like that. You're right. There is an overlap, obviously, of these other realms of reality. Like you said, a highway passing through. I mean, it's like it's like, guys, I'm trying to do stuff here. Like I'm trying to work here. I'm trying to live and do stuff. Can you just knock? I think setting up, like, if you've got, like, I have my room, for example, and so I set that up to be a space, and I charge that, and I set a ward up on that, and I think that's a very sensible type of venture there. So thank you, David. That was lovely.